Life is like a never-ending pursuit of happiness. We're always looking for something better than what we have. But problems, trouble, pain, life, death all get in the way. Just when we think we're almost there, we get knocked back down. But what if joy didn't mean what you thought it meant? What if you could have joy no matter what circumstances you're facing or will face? In this series of videos, we're exploring 5 keys to chasing joy. And today, we're actually going to relearn how to be joyful.
Every amusement park has that one ride that's so intense, it'll make you black out. It's so intense and put your stomach into your shoes. Now, a few years ago, I was at this park on that ride with a friend, and I was looking over and like, what's the big deal? This seems pretty lame. And about 0.2 seconds later, the bottom dropped out and we started plummeting towards the earth at like 1 billion miles an hour. And man, that's how life is sometimes. It feels like it's straight and level and then the bottom drops out. And what's scary is when you don't know where you are on the roller coaster or in life. Today, we're gonna be talking about how we can experience more joy by understanding where we are on the roller coaster of life. But before we do that, I want us to hear from some joy experts. Who are the joy experts in your life? Well, they're kids. I want us to hear from some kids about joy right now.
You know what? Jace said the same thing. That just means you're famous, that's all. So you can like flip your hair, boom, like, famous, what? You wanna say action?
Action.
Good job. What brings the biggest smile to your face?
My friends, my family.
Sometimes play basketball.
Sloths.
Sloth. Okay, how slow does sloths move? What makes you the happiest?
Food.
What kind of food?
Skyline.
Tortellini.
Ice cream.
Oh my gosh. What makes you laugh the hardest?
Frankie dancing with me.
Your dog.
Put him on his back legs and he's like,
Tell me about one of the happiest days of your life.
A new family when I
Yeah.
got adopted.
And how much money do you think you need to make you happy?
Maybe 20, $50, $100.
That's a good amount. What are you gonna buy?
A huge pony.
Not much.
0.
None, I guess. None. You can't buy happiness.
Some people need love to be happy.
If you're a rich person, you could just use money too, but
That could also maybe buy love, is that what you're saying?
yeah.
But if you aren't rich, where do you get the love from?
Jesus.
That's a good answer. How do you keep being happy?
By dancing.
Let me see some of your best moves. That's so good. What cheers you up?
Getting hugs.
You like hugs? So some folks who are watching this, they might not know where to start. They don't know how to be happy. What would you tell them?
Just let your inspiration go wild.
That's good advice.
Man, I love that picture of childlike joy. Hey, for the last 4 weeks, we've been in the book of Philippians. Philippians has a lot to say about joy. Joy in Jesus, joy in humility, joy in the process, joy in suffering, all kinds of joy. Now, let me show you something really cool about Philippians. Even the structure of the book tells us something about it. You see, Philippians isn't just a single theme. It's actually a series of vignettes that refer back to a central idea right in the middle of the book in the form of a poem. Philippians shows how living as a Christian means seeing your own story as a lived expression of Jesus' story. Now, did you catch that? Let me say it again because this is important. Philippians shows that living as a Christian means seeing your own story as a lived expression of Jesus' story. And if you're wondering, well, what does any of this have to do with joy? Well, I'm getting to that. Now, I'd propose to you that one of the biggest reasons you and I don't experience more childlike joy in our lives is that we don't understand where we are in the narrative arc of God's story. It's like we expect things to be straight and level all the time, but that's not how life or a good roller coaster work. And if we don't know where we are, straight and level, headed up the hill, or flying face first towards the ground, placing ourselves in the story as a lived expression of Jesus's is really challenging. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I explain a framework for relearning joy, let me describe the current situation where most of us find ourselves. Now, a few decades ago, NASA was looking for a way to quantify creativity, and they started with kids. Now, the children of this study were first tested at 5, then again at 10 and 15 years old. At age 5, like my daughter Mariah, 98% of children tested as creative geniuses. By the age of 10, only 30%. And by 15, only 12% were still genius-level creatives. Now, a fourth test was administered as adults, and it was only 2% retained that creative and problem-solving genius. And I just propose, hasn't our childlike ability to experience joy suffered a similar fate? Man, who's the joy expert in your life? Kids, right? They throw tantrums, but they're also capable of a level of sheer delight that aren't we all envious of? I mean, come on. Like, my daughter Mariah is more joyful with an ice cream cone and a balloon than I am with a beach vacation. Like, and it doesn't matter. Like, she could have a balloon and ice cream cone in the middle of a hurricane, and she would be loving life. She has a joy that is just incredible. But somewhere along the line, life conspires against us so that we unlearn joy. Trauma, disappointment, misplaced expectations, pain, brokenness, suffering, and a whole lot more chip away at our ability to experience joy until it feels like a distant memory. You might remember when it happened to you, when that disappointment or hurt or pain changed something in you, or you might not. Now, everyone has a story, and mine is just that. It's my own. It's my own story of experiencing God, and our stories have a profound role in shaping who we are. And mine has been one of relearning joy, and that's what I want for you too.
Hey, I'm Hannah, and this is Andy, and you already know him because he is crushing it.
Thank you, Hannah.
Doing an awesome job teaching us about relearning joy. I know I'm enjoying it, and I hope that you are too. Now's the time in our service where we get to engage in giving, which is an area that I've relearned joy in my own life. And if you want to partner with us to change the world, not just the world, but also your own community, you can go to crossroads.net/give right now.
Hey, we have something really important coming up, and it's called The Journey. And if you wonder, what's a journey and why should I do it? I want you to check out this video that answers both those questions right now.
This year's journey is called Grow, because God wants more for our lives, and to find that, we must grow. The journey's 5 weeks long, starting September 18th. And there are 3 parts to the journey. Step 1, attend the weekend and receive weekly teaching at a site or online. Get inspired with the good news. Step 2, do your guide work. You get your very own printed guide. It'll help you create a plan of action to grow deeper. And step 3, meet with your group. During the journey, we meet in groups to talk about what we're learning, grow deeper together. You might even make a new friend. And if you don't have a group, that's okay. We'll help you find one. Recap. Attend the weekend, do your guide work, and get in a group. Go here for more. Come grow.
My own personal journey with joy has many chapters, but one of the most important happened years ago at what it was the darkest point in my entire life. I grew up as the youngest of 5 kids, and I was pretty good. Like, I rarely did anything that I couldn't I'm sorry my way out of, right? And I was generally rewarded for it. This all worked pretty well until my early 20s, until it didn't. My life wasn't perfect, but in general, the do good things equals get good things equation was working pretty well for me. Now, there was a season when all that changed, when I had 6 people in my family die in 2 years. Culminated when my mom's cancer came out of remission. I moved home to take care of her, and in spite of chemotherapy, radiation, and all kinds of prayers, she died. Months later, my sister got a disease that was so rare that our doctors were literally calling people in China to find a similar case. By the end, she was 90 pounds, lost her right eye, was in so much pain that it was unimaginable. And just when her health began to improve, she died. I was done. I was broken. It was like the wheels had come off of my life. I quit my job where I was working at a church, singing about how great God was. I left home, I bought a motorcycle, and I just hit the road. I wasn't sure where I was going. I wasn't really even sure what I was doing. All I really knew is that I needed everything to change. I was the picture of freedom, but also the picture of what it is to be lost. I was running away from a life and frankly of faith that wasn't working. I felt like God hadn't held up his end of the bargain and I was pissed. You know what happened? I just kept moving. What ended up being an emotional and physical journey of almost a year, crossed 36,000 miles across deserts, jungles, 16 countries, and everything in between. Literally took me from the Arctic Circle to the bottom of Argentina. It was an adventure, that's for sure. If you want to hear stories, hey, buy me a beer, let's talk about it. But I remember one day that I will remember for the rest of my life. I was in Central America, I was riding my motorcycle down a beautiful mountain overlooking the Atlantic. The weather was like this, it was perfect, but I could barely see it. Tears just clouded my eyes and I was so angry that I was shouting at God in my helmet. I was so angry, I just kept rolling on the throttle, accelerating down this mountainside where there'd just been a rock slide. Boulders were over here, there was a cliff face over here, and I was just daring the bike to hit something. I don't know how long I went on this way, but I was just pushing harder and going faster. Man, I don't know if I wanted to die, but I know that I didn't care if I lived. When I reached the bottom of the mountain, I pulled over and just laid there on the side of the road, utterly exhausted. And I just remember saying to God out loud, God, I can't do this anymore. You don't owe me anything. I'll follow you no matter what. In that moment of exhausted grief and tears, like something changed, it clicked. It was as if I knew that I wasn't at the end of the story, I was in the middle where my misplaced expectation of God were dying, where my good Christian behavior was exposed for what it was, an attempt to control God so that I could get what I wanted. The story didn't end with my pain, but instead ended with God bringing me through to something better. And that's what I want for you so that you can experience more joy, more hope, more freedom, and more wholeness. This is a process that I've experienced in big and in small ways. In my career, in my ambitions, in my plans, in my relationships, in my identity, and all the things that I try and make the bedrock of my life other than God. These are all opportunities for us to do that thing from Philippians 2, which is remembered. It's showing us how we can see our own lives as a lived expression of Jesus' story. But if we learn to handle life's struggles with Jesus, there's a framework for handling those struggles that won't rob us of happiness, but instead will enable you and I to relearn joy. If we don't realize that life is like a roller coaster, that there are highs and that there are lows, we don't know what to do with them when they come. So here's a framework. It's going to go before, on, and after for noticing where you are and embracing your place in life. In our own ways, Jesus lived this out in Philippians 2. He created this model that you and I get to follow. Philippians 2, 6 through 11 says this: have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. This is the before. This is God recognizing an opportunity to take a humble place to serve. And that's what you and I have. This goes and leads us to being on the cross. Continuing with our passage from Philippians 2, it says, rather, Jesus made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. But the story doesn't end there. There's an after the cross, before the cross, on the cross, and after the cross that you and I are invited into. In Philippians 2, 6 through 11, it says this: therefore God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on the earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Man, we have an opportunity to allow God to bring us through a healing and growing process before the cross, on the cross, and after the cross, letting the imperfect parts of our character, of our personality, of our history, to be remade, reshaped, and renewed more in the image and story of Jesus. So if things are challenging for you right now, if you feel like the wheels are coming off, hey, the story isn't over. You're still in the middle where God is reshaping and renewing and reforming important parts of who you are. And He cares enough to grow you in the midst of that space and to take that place of brokenness and make it a source of strength, to take that place of pain and make it a source of joy. When we understand where we are in the framework of God's story and see our lives as a lived expression of His story before the cross, on the cross, and after the cross, man, then we're not surprised when difficulty comes. We're not expecting everything to be straight and level. That's not true of life. It's not true of a good roller coaster. Life has an ebb and a flow. It has highs and it has lows. It has twists and it has turns. And all through every bit of it, God's working out His goodness in you and for you. Now, in just a moment, we're gonna take communion. We're gonna take communion. It's a recognition of God's ability to redeem and to restore every part of us, to breathe new life into the pain, to breathe new life into the brokenness, make old things new and broken things whole. So if you would, I'm gonna use wine and bread. Grab whatever you have at home. Thank you. And Jesus gathered His friends, His community around Him. He said, "This is my body, broken for you. Take and eat." And He said, "This is my blood shed for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Take and drink." These practical, tactile examples of God's love for you and for me. If you believe in Jesus, you understand Him as your Savior and as your source of redemption, take that bread and eat it, and take that wine or whatever you're using at home and drink that now. Now, let me leave you guys with a passage. Hebrews 12:2 says, "Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before Him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God." Man, that's a beautiful articulation of the journey towards joy that God is inviting you and me into. So become an active participant in your own growth and healing by allowing God to take you on a journey like He did with me, from before the cross to on the cross to after the cross. Man, this has been my story in areas of pride, selfishness, ambition, my career, my identity, my family, and a whole host of other things in big and small ways. This is an opportunity to remind ourselves that if the story isn't good, then the story isn't over. Jesus isn't done with you. He wants to bring you more healing, wholeness, and joy than you can imagine. And while it's not easy, it's worth it. Now, one more note from my story. Remember that road in Central America where my grief almost overwhelmed me? A few years ago, I had the chance to revisit some of those same roads, except I wasn't alone and I wasn't grieving. I had a wife and 3 kids with me. I wasn't grieving, I was healed. I wasn't alone, I had been restored to a family. In big and small ways, God can bring wholeness to you. So lean in, be bold, and see how your own life can echo Jesus' story of resurrection. Then you'll experience more of what it means to relearn joy.
Rejoice, He's won the battle for the saints. Rejoice because all heaven knows your name. Rejoice, the sin is powerless today. Sing
Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us today. It is our sincere hope and prayer that you learned how to experience more joy in your life. Now, as we mentioned, we have a really important thing coming up, the journey. I really think it could be an inflection point to change the spiritual trajectory of your life. And that doesn't happen just by watching something
That's right.
or reading something. It happens in the context of community, growing with other people. Man, join a group, start a group. Head to crossroads.net/journey for more info on how to do that.
And if you want one of these awesome guides that Andy and I have, more information of how to get that, and you need to get it soon, by the way, is at crossroads.net/journey. Now, I'm gonna stop talking because we have something very special, something that you wanna stick around for. It's a sneak peek into the Grow journey. We'll see you next time on Crossroads.
You can grow beyond where you are right now. Everyone likes the idea of spirituality, but no one actually knows you can actually grow spiritually.